So today, we're going to dig into a really powerful, maybe even counterintuitive idea. What if the best way to deal with our feelings isn't to fight them, but to just be with them? We're going to see this whole concept in action by stepping inside a pretty unique therapy session. Okay, let's jump right in.
You know, this question right here, it gets to the absolute heart of what we're talking about today. Our culture is just obsessed with quick fixes, right? But for something as deep and complex as anxiety, could it be that our constant need to fix it is actually making things worse? Let's explore that.
So to get started, we're going to look at an approach called presence therapy. But we're not just going to talk about it as some abstract theory. No, we're going to see it through the eyes of people in a real group session at a clinic to see how it actually works on the ground.
And right there, that is the huge shift in perspective. It's not about getting rid of tough feelings. It's about building up our awareness and our capacity, basically our ability to hold these feelings without getting totally overwhelmed. The whole goal is to change our relationship with what's going on inside us, not to declare war on it.
And to make this super concrete, our source for all this comes from a very specific place, a Group Your Acupuncture session. So this isn't just talk. These are real people in a room actively practicing this stuff, blending a kind of physical therapy with group counseling.
Okay, so that's the setup. Now let's actually hear from the participants themselves, because this is where these big ideas really come alive, when we hear how different people experience this whole process of just, well, being present.
This first story is just so relatable, isn't it? One participant talked about how their anxiety wasn't some big single event. It was this slow, gradual buildup of family stress and the emotional weight of just caring for other people. It's that feeling of soaking up stress from everyone around you, almost like a sponge, without even realizing it's happening.
And this is where the facilitator's insight is just so key. Instead of jumping in with a solution, he just normalized it. He basically said, yep, that's how it works. This emotional weight we carry often builds up completely under the radar, and we only notice it when it finally gets too heavy to ignore. Just hearing that validation is unbelievably powerful.
Here's another voice from the group that really nails the core of this whole approach. The goal for them shifted from finding a cure to developing a skill. Just think about that for a second. Anxiety isn't some disease to be wiped out. It's an internal experience that you can learn to navigate with more and more expertise.
So, what does skillfully meeting anxiety actually look like? Well, it's about noticing the early tremors before the earthquake hits. This participant learned to spot those subtle internal shifts and then use really simple, accessible tools, like just finding a quiet corner for a minute or focusing on the feeling of their own breath to stop things from spiraling.
Okay, this next experience is absolutely fascinating. Another person described going into this state of deep relaxation, where the line between being awake and being asleep just totally blurred. And the amazing part? They weren't fighting it or trying to analyze it. They were just observing this flow of colors and images, completely free from the need to make sense of it all.
And the facilitator's take on this, he explained that this seemingly strange state is actually a profound sign of success. It's the body basically sending a signal that the nervous system finally feels safe enough to power down and go into deep rest mode. It's what can happen when you finally stop trying to control everything and just let go.
All right, so these powerful individual stories all point to a much bigger picture, right? So let's zoom out a bit and look at the major themes that came out of this group, and really the deep wisdom our bodies hold when we finally learn how to listen to them.
This comparison really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got the problem-solving mind. Modern life basically trains us to live here. It's always on, always scanning for threats, always trying to fix everything, which ironically can crank our stress way up. But on the other side, you have the presence mind, which we have to actively practice and cultivate. It's all about sensory awareness, what you feel, what you hear, and it lets emotions be seen and then pass through you, which ultimately takes away their power.
So, let's just pull together the key takeaways from all this. First, stress is sneaky. It often builds up without us even noticing. Second, the goal isn't a cure, it's building your capacity to handle what comes. Third, your body is an incredible anchor in an emotional storm. Fourth, and this one is huge, your relationship to your thoughts is way more important than the actual content of your thoughts. And finally, real insight doesn't come from thinking harder, it comes from being present.
Man, this quote from the facilitator, Dr. Carlos Yu, is just so liberating. It's basically giving you permission to let go. In a world that screams at us to hustle harder and solve everything, this is a radical act of self-kindness. It's this idea that some things just are, and they don't need us to do a single thing about them, except maybe just notice them. So what does all this mean for you, in your life,
In this last section, let's translate these big ideas into a simple, practical framework you can actually use to move beyond that constant urge to fix everything inside you. Here it is, a super simple plan for building presence inspired by the group. First, just practice noticing the early cues, that little knot in your stomach, that recurring thought. Second, have a go-to grounding tool ready, something simple like feeling your feet on the floor or just listening to a sound in the room. And third, and this is key, consciously shift your goal. The aim isn't to feel better instantly, it's just to be with whatever you're feeling, right here, right now.
And let's be really clear about this. These practices aren't magic. They don't make life's challenges just disappear. Life is still going to be messy and hard. But what grounding does is it gives you a foothold. It keeps you from being completely swept away by the storm of your own mind. That's how you build real resilience, from the inside out.
So we're going to end right where we started, with a question for you. After everything we've talked about, just consider this for yourself. If you were to just pause that constant effort to solve and analyze and get rid of your feelings, what might you discover instead? What wisdom is already in there, just waiting for you to notice it?